Go for it. All right.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 2:14. Bill, we're going to turn to you for 15 minutes to talk about the marketing subjects. So you've got two subjects, the drum and the Our Town Together.
Do you think I can keep it to 15 minutes?
Well, go for it, Bill. Let's see.
Right, so we have two items on that agenda. The first one, and I want to join Megan and Karen in that conversation. We have launched what we discussed in our last meeting. Karen actually has launched it. It's called Our Town Together. And if you want to give a quick explanation, Karen.
Sure. Mostly it's an online campaign that is designed to build our brand as a town around community spirit and around how our community is coming together to meet the challenges during the pandemic and beyond, and with the bridge closure. So we really have a number of challenges that we have to overcome. And what we recognize is that there are individuals and businesses and organizations in the community who are really stepping up and who are really just inspiring other people, and we want to tell their stories. And so we, instead of using our marketing right now to attract folks from outside of town to town directly, we want to build the brand and show folks that our town really is in this together, and that this is a pretty fabulous place to live and work and be. So that's in a nutshell.
Now,
And who's in that network?
Who's in the network?
Yes.
it's a social media campaign run by Drum
Currently? Yeah.
So it's not a network,
No, James, it's not a network. It's a campaign.
a campaign.
Right. So it goes out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and
Okay.
eventually ends up on our webpage, particularly the videos. Correlated with that, okay. So the campaign is launched. We've already approved expenditures to do that through Drum. I'll mention that Drum contract, their extension to their contract is up as of January. That's the second topic we need to talk about.
Of June, not January. End of June, actually. I checked that.
I'm hoping this will be over, you know. Anyway, it ends in mid-June, so we have roughly a little less than a month left of their time to do this, unless we decide to extend it, and we'll have that conversation in a moment. But a corollary to this Our Town Together is that Karen and I had a conversation with the Monadnock Ledger transcript, i.e. Heather McKernan and editor, what's his name?
Ben Conant.
Ben Conant. And Heather put together a sponsorship proposal that we would financially support through EDA funds. We would financially support the newspaper, and they would sponsor the campaign through, through their newspaper, through their website, and other vehicles. I sent the proposal out, Andy. I'll have to get you a copy, but I sent. Sorry.
Thank you.
I will send their proposal out. We just got it earlier today. Bottom line, they've got, I'll let you read about what the campaign is. Bottom line, in terms of dollars and cents, we're talking about $1,000 for a two-story proposal with supports, and then a four-story proposal for about $1,700. One of the things we need to look at is what our budget looks like. I know that Drum has not spent all of their funds for advertising. They have been allocated about $150 per month of EDA funds to do online advertising, and we don't want them to completely stop that, but we had cut them way back due to the current circumstances. So there may be a little pool of money there, and maybe we can find a little bit more money to do this proposal. So what I'm suggesting at this point is that you take the time to actually read that proposal, and then maybe we can reconvene at some time in the near future to perhaps pull the trigger on that one.
Bill, I would like to just add what we saw as the benefit of partnering with a paper, because like right now, because we've made this shift to a more local audience and to build the brand in this way, we realize that not everybody is on social media. And a lot of people get their news through the paper, and that's the paper's, it's got its own audience. So we also feel like there is definitely benefit in partnering with the paper right now, because it's one of our small businesses, and it's a good idea to, you know, to support the work it does to benefit the community, and it definitely has a commitment to our community. The first part of this, just to be clear, is the first part is a call for nominations. So right now, what we're asking people to do is tell us who they know and who they think are the people whose stories should be told. And we've gotten a number of people showing up on Facebook right now, and that's where I'm seeing it. There may be other places, but people are nominating people and organizations and businesses. So we're getting that. But we also feel like if we did that through the newspaper and their readership and their online audience, we're going to get a lot more play. Mm-hmm. So that's the beginning of this. It's the first couple of weeks are really this call for nominations. And then once we start to get those, then we will kind of vet and cull through the list and then give assignments, you know, to Drum to say, here's our list of people we'd like you to reach out to and do video interviews with, tell their story, and then let them produce those for us. And then those will be posted. But what the proposal with the paper does is it takes those stories, it takes the copy of those stories, and it moves it to print. So not only do we have an online campaign, we've got a print campaign.
Right.
And so, so it's got both of those elements, and it's got, again, the online presence, the online audience from the Ledger transcript. So we've got their audience as well.
Karen, yeah, that's a good description, and I must say, in addition to that, Heather does a very good job of articulating the benefits of having that kind of collaboration.
I read the proposal, and I thought it was really a very good idea. I think it's a great way to get much more connected to the town. What are we proposing in terms of the first investment to make in this for the Ledger? What's the proposal?
Well, let me tell you. So I looked at our account. I looked at the marketing budget before we got on the call. Once we have paid Drum what we owe them, we will have
through June.
We have 2 invoices, and I don't know what the June invoice is, but James, will be about, I think we're around $19,000 as a balance in the marketing account. Okay. So that doesn't mean we want to spend it all at once, but I think what I'm saying to you is there are funds to make this kind of investment. And if we have been willing to spend money every month with Drum doing what they've been doing, you know, maybe what we look at is, you know, how to put some of that money into the bucket of this proposal with the Ledger transcript, and reevaluate what we're doing with Drum, perhaps. You know, I think there's an opportunity here to just make sure that we're getting a lot of value for what we're spending. And I will just say that in the short term that we've been dealing with Drum, like that I've been involved, it's just been a couple weeks. I would like to see a little bit more coming from them in terms of ideas, in terms of what they're, you know, like in this new kind of thinking. I want to see them come to us and really produce some really wonderful things before we would automatically renew. Like that's my suggestion.
Well, so when I joined that committee, that was my concern too. And I will tell you that their hesitantness in that is that they feel like every time that they have come forward, they sometimes get pushback. So I think because it's politically, you know, it's a town-wide thing, I think sometimes they are looking for more guidance because, you know, already there was some conversation about posting of the trails to be using. And then previously, I can't remember, there was an issue when I first got on the committee that there were some concerns about what was safe to post, like keep it light was a big thing. Sorry, the dog. Sorry, 1 second. Okay.
That's not your husband, is it?
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so
Okay,
I just feel like they need a really well-structured brainstorm, I guess, where they can feel like they have the freedom. Right, Bill? Do you get that feeling?
Well, definitely so. But realizing, of course, that there's been quite a 180-degree turn
Yeah.
in where we're heading, and they've got to get on board. They're really bright guys. One of the other things, too, is that they want to keep somewhat independence simply because you can't really map out week by week, you can't map out month by month exactly the kind of campaign that we're going to do.
well, I think we can now, and I think
To some extent.
so that's for me, what I'm looking for is like that level of kind of thought organization where we have a campaign and we have kind of, and I think we're seeing that we saw the beginning of it after we had that first meeting with them. So I'm just saying that I think it's giving them a little more direction and then saying, you know, this is what we're looking for. I would hope that that's then what we're going to see, you know. And I think I'm certainly willing for them to come to us, right, with ideas. Like I look for that from a contractor. Like I want them to do that, and I think they may have gotten. Maybe it wasn't right that they got as much pushback as they got. I'm not sure, but I think right now we have an opportunity to do something new with them and see how they come to the work.
Well, to the degree that we're willing to give them much more attention. I feel in the past they weren't really getting much attention from the EDA, particularly since there wasn't really a marketing group left.
Right.
So now that Megan and I and Drum constitute the marketing branch and Karen on board, I think given that level of attention, I think that they can certainly survive with a little bit more oversight than what we've been giving them. Now, the question becomes, and maybe this is the segue into a conversation about their contract renewal, is perhaps we need to put that language into the extension. I, first of all, vote that we do give them an extension beyond June. We would be talking about July, August, and September, which is in the framework of your Our Town Together program, right? And is also within the framework of what the Monadnock Ledger transcript is proposing.
Yeah, they're proposing a 3-month program, right?
So a collaboration, we've got that collaboration already kind of started because the newspaper actually is going to publish the launch of our call for news stories.
Well, can I ask this? I mean, would the Ledger ever take on Drum's role?
That's what I'm wondering, Megan, because they do have the capacity to do really quality videos and great photos and so that's part of my thinking too, is maybe there's a shift we can make where we could still get the work just done, you know, with a different partner.
I mean, so I'll be honest with you, as a younger person who doesn't read the newspaper or really advertise much with the newspaper, and the reason that
What
I
are
really
you
like
suggesting?
Drum, for me, when I follow the way they post on Peterborough.nh is very different than I've seen the Ledger structure. And again, like I would never want a person to feel like the EDA is an advertisement. So I worry a little bit leaning that way towards the Ledger, just because I wonder how they would, because they're going to want credit, I think, too. They would want to co-sponsor and
Well,
put their tax.
Yeah, and their proposal they put up half the money, so they are sponsoring.
Yeah. So I would be concerned, again, that I like that Drum doesn't really do that personally, but that's just something I think we should consider if we go with a Ledger idea, that we're now married to a sponsorship, which might not be bad. It's just something that we should think about, I think.
Well, what is the next step that's being proposed with the Ledger? What
Well,
is the next step?
Well, James, there were 2 options on the table in the proposal, right? One was for 2 stories, which doesn't give you all of the web impressions and the headline alerts and that, and the 4 stories does that. I think at this point, you know, if you were going to go for it, if you were going to go with the whole thing, I would do the 4 stories and the, you know, the second option 2 on here, which would be a total of $1,735, and they would put up the same amount. So I think, you know, and that's a full 3 months. So that would, if you're going to do it, I think that's the expense you're looking at.
I vote in that direction as well. I think that we need to be bold and aggressive in our approach to building this collaboration. And in addition to that, it'll give us the time span to evaluate where we're going with this and then make some quality decisions through the summer.
And then I think if you lined up the contract with Drum to be the same period, right, then you've got a window to see how did the whole thing go, where were we effective, and then you can make some decisions about expenditures following that.
I mean,
So the ledger relationship would start at the beginning of July?
Well, I think it's starting now, James. It's the ledger. If we go with this, they will start promoting once we begin. So you would probably think it's probably more like June, July, August.
Right.
Right. So that would be what you would.
So then we want 2 more months with Drum.
Right.
So
Because we got-
I have an idea. If we go with the 4 stories thing, then I think that depending on how people feel, I would just like to see maybe compare. So if we gave the ledger 1 person to cover and gave Drum another person to cover, but they did share the material, I think that would be interesting to see how each net is cast, maybe.
And we could look at performance, yeah.
So we could maybe make a suggestion to amend this so that it's not just them taking the content that Drum is producing, but rather that they actually would produce a story online for us so we could see. And I think that would be a conversation, Bill and Megan, that we would have with Heather about what we're thinking about the potential for them to do. We haven't talked with them at all about the potential to do video for us.
Right.
So it's just an open item, and maybe they wouldn't even be interested to do it. So, but just
Okay, well, again, if we were going to go for the 1730, and then maybe 2 more months for Drum,
right,
to take us all the way through June, July, August.
Right.
Do we want to vote for that as a decision?
well, I think you should do it separately. I think you do the Drum contract first, and then I think we should talk about, you know, the ledger option, the conversation to have with them. So you should have a motion for Drum first and do that vote, James, and then take the next piece.
So that was extend Drum from when to when?
Till the end of August.
And how much?
I don't know what the standard has been. I got the last invoice.
Yeah, I can find the contract quickly here. Do you want me to display it or just let you know what it is?
Just say what it is.
I had it up just a second ago. Where is
So
it?
do we want to put in the new contract though, create and originate content based on our town together, I would think.
Yeah, I think we're changing we need to change the wording in the extension so that the focus for this new contract is this.
All on our town together, basically.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so typically what happens is in the past, Pete has drawn up these contracts, made modifications to them as requested by Megan or myself, and then served it through Rodney. Do you want to take on that task, Karen?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I can send you the latest if you don't have it. But essentially, we pay them $1,350 per month. And then they also had a $150 per month budget for paid advertising. Well, I think that was included in the $1,350.
So at that rate, I mean, that's, so you're spending an extra, so that's another 13, that's $34,000 for the next.
For 4,050. If we were going to, I mean, we don't necessarily need to spend, or they don't necessarily need to spend $150 per month on paid advertising.
Well, my question would be, is that how many hours does the 1350 cover in the contract? Do you know?
I can look here. It's all tiny type. It doesn't say.
I'll tell you what, if the group approves extending Drum's contract until the end of August, I'll look at the current contract and make a proposal back on the amount. I wonder, because I'm wondering what we based the 1350 on and whether that's still relevant given what we're asking for now.
You should check that out. Check that out.
Here it is, contract renewal, 31 hours per month for their time, and that would be at a rate of $1,200.
$1,200.
$1,200 per month, and then plus the 150
Okay,
that they could expend on advertising.
got it.
So, like I said, I have, so at $13.95 maximum.
And do we, I'm sorry that I didn't look at this, but the last invoice that came through, do they bill hourly?
I don't know.
All right.
I haven't seen the invoice. I could simply redirect it to your office.
So it's monthly and it's not accounting for the hours, it's just,
No, we're just presuming, and quite frankly, I think they probably put in more than 31.
well, we don't have a way to know that.
We don't, but at the same time, based on the quality of their work as well as the kind of interactions that we've had with them in the past, you know, it seems totally reasonable if they're spending that kind of time. So,
Well, I hear you,
we
Bill.
could, if you want to, we could implement an accounting system where they have to account for the hours that
Well,
they,
I would just say this, if I've been a contractor for an organization and I have certain deliverables and I'm charging hourly based on an hourly rate, I usually will provide detail of where that time went and how I did that. So I think because we're spending the town's money, the taxpayers' money here, we have a duty to make sure that the money's being spent well. And I'm not saying it isn't, I'm just saying I want to understand how it is being spent, and I want to make sure we're getting the best return for our investment. That's all. I like Eddie and I like Rory. I think, you know, they do quality work. I just want to make sure we're doing our work to make sure that we're accounting for it. That's all. Because the $19,000 is not going to last forever. This allocation we got on the special warrant. Like
So we have two decisions to address. One is to approve 2 more months of compensation for Drum to be negotiated by Karen.
Well, I would make a proposal back to you. I would like to talk to the marketing committee after I've looked at the billing and what we think we're going to need. I'd like to have another conversation with Bill and Megan on this, because I think we're not ready to, we're not ready to renew based on an as is. We need a new contract, and I'd really like for us to figure out what that is before we approve it.
Okay, well, then the second one is an agreement of $17.30 for the ledger.
It's $17.35.
Oh, I missed 5.
And we may not be ready to move forward on that either, because we want to have a conversation with Heather on that.
Basically what we're saying is under the current circumstances, I know we want to change that, but under the current circumstances, we at EDA, i.e. Drum, would be actually directly collaborating for editorial content to be shared by both the newspaper and our social media efforts. And if Drum is not going to be part of that process, then we're going to have to renegotiate. We would have to renegotiate with the Monadnock.
I'm not saying, you know, I don't think we're saying they're not going to be part of it. I think we're trying to figure out how they're going to be part of it.
Right.
So,
So I guess what we need is some more conversations before we actually make any final decisions on money expenditures.
I think so.
Well, I think the main thing we can approve is to have these continuing conversations with the Ledger and with Drum, and to find a very good plan for how they work together.
Would it be okay to say to Heather that we're very interested in the proposal, that we're moving forward
Yes.
with it? We just haven't had, you know, a final say, and then we could have that other conversation about content.
At least 3 of us are very interested, and 2 have disappeared, and I can't hear from Andy. Are you there, Andy?
Yeah, I just being the new guy, didn't want to talk the whole time. Anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'd offer on this, from my limited experience with it, is that my son-in-law, who's in San Francisco, is one of the top tech guys for YouTube, and they have been. And my daughter's a marketing director out there for a company, and they've been very enthusiastic about the web presentation that we have for Peterborough and how much better it is than what they see for, you know, other towns and villages in our area. Their, you know, connection is obviously 3,000 miles away, and they see a lot of this stuff because they actually do it themselves. You know, I think the people who've been doing it, you know, without any help or input from me, have, you know, been, at least in their eyes, doing a very good job. I also feel that when we look at our advertising for the area, we want to have a strong out-of-the-area presence in advance of the times of year where we see the most of our visitors. And when we see the most of our visitors here, we want to have a strong in-area presence. I think supporting the Monadnock Ledger with some of the available funds is a, you know, is a very, you know, worthwhile thing to consider. But what I would probably suggest is that we have this kind of web presence going all year by a company that is professionally, you know, that's what they do. And then have our Ledger articles and coverage, such as, you know, they may be more seen and be more of a presence when people are here, particularly in the summer and the fall. I think that would be the maximum, you know, maximize the use of dollars, and also give us a chance to see, you know, you know, what, you know, each can do. The idea of renewing contracts without having, you know, a chance to have a conversation and get an improvement in service or have some accountability for what's been done, you know, I also appreciate. And I think this is a good time to look at that, you know, when you have a turnover. But I do want to say that the feedback I'm getting is that our web coverage is very good. The other thing that I think are important for us to recognize is that we're a central town in a region, and that, you know, although it's Peterborough that obviously is being, you know, promoted, it really is something that where we do rise and fall as a region. And if the impression of the region is strong, then Peterborough is going to do well. So to the extent that this filters out a little bit into, you know, Peterborough as a center point of the Monadnock region, I think we would still be benefiting from that. Anyway, that's really all I have to say about it. Thank you for listening.
Great.
Thank you, Andy.
I agree completely.
Okay, so we're going to ask you to please proceed with an agreement between the Ledger and Drum. Maybe put that on the table for our next meeting.
Okay.
All right, and now we can jump past the update on this.
15 minutes.
Did
I got one more minute.
okay.
Oh, one more minute?
Gene wants to say something.
Cindy, what's your minute?
Because otherwise we get feedback. I just wanted to say that I of course missed a lot of the conversation because I was on the.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you, Jean. Come closer.
I missed a lot of the conversation because I was doing a BFA meeting simultaneously. But I wanted to make sure that Andy knew that we had discussed doing one posting a week externally oriented, even throughout this period, and then 2 postings in the more in-town. I don't know if that was brought up.
It wasn't, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and we're going to skip the signage for the bridge. Nothing to report on that.
Not right now.
So we'll move to the Monadnock Manufacturers Initiative.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Jerry would be on the call, and I may need to just follow up with Jerry separately on this. But I was part of a conversation that was initiated by the Keene Chamber and some business leaders out of Keene in particular, where they were all large manufacturers. I'm getting feedback, I'm not sure. I'm gonna see where that's coming from. So they were all large manufacturers, and they were talking about what challenges large manufacturers were facing in COVID right now. And because we've been focused so much on the small businesses. And what they were going to do is a survey of the large manufacturers to ask some key questions. And they wondered if we, on this side of the mountain could, or whatever we call it, could also do that so that we could get some baseline information from our large businesses. In particular, what they were interested in was what kind of workforce challenges are they experiencing right now, given people not being able to come into work, or collecting unemployment, or having childcare issues, or all the whole host of things. You know, what are the challenges large businesses are encountering? And so I wanted to bring that to this group, and in particular to Jerry, to see if we could engage the Employers Forum members to help provide some of that baseline information. Because they're looking at a regional approach and really trying to get ahead of this somewhat to be able to, you know, create materials and kind of a promotional campaign of sorts that would attract workforce, you know, beyond COVID. So, you know, what we're hearing, you know, a lot of the conversation was, well, you know, there are people living in cities right now that may want to relocate to somewhere it's safer, that feels safer. And so we may have jobs, right? We may have high level jobs. And so then we talked about housing, of course, because then there's a housing component, but there were, I don't know who that is. Weird. My phone rings through my computer. And so anyway, all of that conversation was just a first conversation with this group. And I just thought we should be involved in this, and we should be looking at it with them, because we're all going to have the same challenges as we come through this. And I think, so that was the beginning of a bigger conversation with the larger manufacturers. Jean?
James. So what was that group with the Keene Chamber? Was that Phil Suter?
It was Phil and George Hansel and Ned, Ned, who's the economic development guy, and then a number of people from the business communities themselves, you know, from the actual
Ned
business.
actually lives in Peterborough.
So does Phil.
Yeah, they do. So
as a one interesting conversation is that I've noticed that, I thought I turned my sound off. I noticed that people's relatives are coming to live here now. Like, for instance, Stan Fry's son has moved here permanently. Other people, I've noticed their relatives are coming to live in.
Migrating to Peterborough.
But
Yeah, all of Stan's children are living in his houses right down the road from you.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to ensure that this survey, since it is going out to the manufacturers, if at the same time we can collect information on how they're doing demand and supply wise.
Mhm. Okay.
So that we, because I know, for instance, Microspec is doing gangbusters because they found a new medical application for their products.
Yeah. So I think what's going to happen next is that their group are going to be kind of looking at what some of those questions are, and then probably bringing it to the whole group so that we can then look at it and see what else should we be asking. But I just happened to, it didn't happen. Rodney forwarded the meeting to me. But, and also just to say, Phil Suter, the head of the Keene Chamber, as most of you know, lives in town, and he has said to me, he offered to me that any way he can be helpful to the EDA, he would like to be. So if maybe we want to have Phil join a call upcoming, you know, to talk about this particular initiative, perhaps, or even about the regional marketing effort that's underway that he's doing with Jamie Trowbridge and that group, which I'm also supposed to be becoming the new Rodney on. You know, that Phil would be willing to be part of our meetings and kind of update us on some things that are going on regionally. So just to offer that out as well.
I wonder if he would participate in the Eco Hub.
I don't know. I think whatever it is, it has to be valuable and a good use of his time. So whatever.
Let me just, Andy, let me ask you if you have anything to say on this whole workforce question that is the central question of what Karen is addressing.
Okay, well, what part of the workforce question are you talking about?
Well, just is this a good time to be attracting workforce to come here and live and work in Peterborough? Is this a necessary thing we really need to focus on?
Well, I think we've got to support our existing workforce at this point, you know, with the kind of effect on small business as some of the, you know, dictates which have come down from our, you know, federal and state governments. You know, a lot of these small businesses are, you know, really don't have a nest egg of money to be able to just take a month off and have everything be okay. You know, so we've got some real things that are going on here through this time. I do think that it's also a time of opportunity where we see a lot of investment coming our way. We see a lot of people who are coming up and getting a sense of what the region is like and having a renewed appreciation for, you know, a place where the you know, lifestyle is a little bit less intense, you know, due to the, you know, the situation that we're in. It obviously accents that. So, you know, it's been long true here that the way to attract you know, a good employer, the number one way is to have the boss want to live here and bring the company with them. And we've seen quite a few of people who are of that ilk who are, you know, interested in our region and, you know, are looking at bringing, you know, not just themselves, but the kind of things that they do to our region. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting time. You know, the layoff of 100 people at the hospital, the situation for
That's a furlough, right?
hospitals.
Isn't that a furlough,
Well,
not a layoff?
Well, you can look at it any way you want. The fact is that, you know, some, you know, we happen to be, you know, designated as an essential industry, and I count myself as being, you know, it's very fortunate under these circumstances in comparison with many others. But and I'm not sure what the EDA on its own can do about all this, but it's something that's, you know, very much, you know, very much on the top of my mind is, you know, what's going to happen. All these people work at restaurants and other places. I do know also that some of the manufacturers that I've talked with, small manufacturers in town are saying they're having some trouble getting their people come back to work right away because of the benefits and this and that. So there's all kinds of vagaries of what's going on. I don't have all the answers, but I certainly am concerned. I'm sure everybody else is too.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, I wasn't saying we should be looking at, the workforce issue right now, but I think being prepared for it when there is a lift, when we do have some kind of relief.
Oh, I see. In other words, you're talking about having people. Yeah, one of the things that I hope that we'll have at the boards and in our building inspector, planning department, everybody, is a real openness to actually be able to build some affordable housing in town. There are builders who want to do it. But they're, if they just get, into kind of a technical malaise over it, it's going to raise costs. That's what we've seen before, is that you have a project that can work, and then, they re-vet it about 12 times, and it ends up, being $300,000-$400,000 houses by necessity. And we've got a couple of places where we actually could do it. You need to have somebody come earn a living wage and be able to have something to hold in their hand at the end of their day, and meaning their own home that they own and that they are investing in, and it nests them in our community. I know it's my own business. It sounds like I'm beating my own, tooting my own trumpet, but it really is very, very important to get the kind of high quality employees that, we're looking for to come to our area. On the bright side, there's a lot of young and innovative people that are ringing the phone and are coming down and looking at renting commercial industrial space and getting their businesses moving into our area. So they want to do it. But I do think we need to have, rental housing, starter housing, and, a real single family home opportunities for these people, in our region, is reasonable commute, so that, we can, put the incentives in place for talented people to want to be here as they have in the years past. So I hope if we get a proposal like that in front of our boards, that we'll be careful not to overthink it and be positive about it. I sense there's a real interest in that down at the town hall. And, that would really help a lot. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Well, we can put housing on our agenda for our next meeting, because that's certainly a very relevant one for this whole question. So a final word on this, Karen, before you do your next subject?
No, just that I'll continue to update you, and I'll follow up with Jerry on
Please.
the enforcement.
Yeah, he's the main guy for that.
Okay, you're now on to retail, restaurants, and saloons, or whatever they are.
Salons. So this is just going to be an update. As the governor has issued emergency order 40 and subsequent orders, it's right now, we've been working with primarily our restaurateurs to figure out a way to help them open with outdoor seating, which is allowable under the order. But it did come with an awful lot of requirements, and it didn't make it easy, exactly because it really is still very much trying to balance the community safety and employee safety aspect of COVID. We are still not seeing our numbers really dropping here in New Hampshire, and the new case number just continues to be high. So we've plateaued. We are not dropping yet. So we've got to be careful how much reopening we do. So we as a town established a committee, really a body of department heads, to look at how we could help our restaurant owners figure it out. And so at this point, as of today, which was the first day that they could open, 8 different restaurants opened or have a license to open for outdoor seating. Not all of them have done it yet. And earlier I mentioned who they were. It's Pearl, Bantam, Waterhouse, Brady's, the Peterborough Diner, Noni's. They are all doing service outside with outdoor seating. And then Aesop's and the Bagel Mill are just doing tables outside with no service. And then we are probably will have this week Cafe Diola Burritos and Vicuña adding tables outside. So that's where we are. The community is still very much up in the air about whether they're ready to go out to eat. We'll see. The business owners are all in a let's see how this goes model, mode, that they're really waiting to see how it happens and if it can work. Also open now are some salons for hair, and retail has been able to be open, but with more requirements. So signage and masks and other things in enforcing social distancing. That seems all to be going well. We've not had complaints. People are behaving themselves for the most part. This is a good community. Everybody wants everybody else to be safe and not sick. So people are working together, and that's a very, very good thing. So, that's pretty much it. But I will say that part of what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is channeling all of the information that's coming out of the state on funding, on loans and grants, and programs and presentations that help folks learn about all of that. Really just channeling all of that out to our business community. And that's been a good thing too. So, and there's a lot of money coming, it's just Friday, the governor announced 3 new pots of money, one for Main Street businesses, one for childcare centers, one for nonprofits. So all of the details of those grants are coming out also, but right now on the online in many places. Well, there's a link for I think it's through it's not CDFA, but there is an application now live for the Main Street grant, and that's a pretty straightforward small application that asks some really straightforward questions, and that's available now until the 29th of May. And then what they're going to do with childcare, that's a separate application, and we're waiting to see where that shows up. And then the nonprofit money, also waiting to see, but it's a partnership between the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits, and one other organization. I think it's community development, that they're working on that money and how that's going to be dispersed. So as the money gets released, part of my job is to make sure our community has that information. And so that's what I've been doing, because we want to make sure that as many organizations and businesses in our community are supported fully in all the ways that they can be.
And there were 2 restaurants that I didn't hear you mention, I don't think, Harlow's and Waterhouse. What's happening with them?
I did mention Waterhouse has opened with a license for outdoor seating, and
Right.
Harlow's has determined that they're just doing takeout right now.
Okay, but did they have a problem with the outdoor?
They're not ready to do it. Neither is Cooper's.
Not because of the town.
No, they're just, the owners have said that they are not ready.
Okay, and the other one was that pizza company that I interviewed over there on the plaza next to the Bantam.
Ponchos?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of them,
Yeah.
but they were not to do outdoor.
No, and they have not
They're just,
applied. They've not applied for an outdoor permit, no.
and their business has been fine. They said they had huge pickup. So they had almost as much revenue as they had in the past.
Right.
So they had no problem. They had problem.
Yeah, some are doing really well, some are challenged. Everybody's got.
So in terms of headline on this question,
Sorry?
in terms of the headline on this opening up of the restaurants and the support from the town, you see no problem at this point.
No, no problem at all. I mean, we have a process and we have communicated with all the businesses in town, that all the restaurants. And they
Okay.
know what the process is and we move it through pretty quickly. And we help them figure out, you know, what logistically they need to do to meet the guidelines.
Okay.
Been working. Nobody's complaining so far, at least not to me. I mean, we're making it work and we're doing it quickly. So as of today, everybody who gave us an application was processed and ready to go by today. So
I can report that Hilltop, the golf course, there's total compliance in terms of social distancing. It's easy to do on the golf course, just to
good.
get it set up. But in addition to that, they've imposed tea time rules and that sort of thing that makes it really easy
Yeah.
to go about that. I do have a question about salons and hairdressers and barbers. They're allowed to open up today as well. Do you have any handle on what's going on there?
yeah, I mean, they were allowed to open actually last Monday,
Oh,
and
were they? Okay.
yeah, some of them decided to, and some of them decided not to. What they can do, what their services are very limited. So they can do haircuts, they can't do blow dry. They can do touch-up coloring, but no highlights.
Mhm.
So it's really, really very specific, and you know, it's one person in the salon at a time. Very limited reservation and one by one. You know, so that's all pretty restrictive still, but there are a few salons that have opened, and we've heard also of some that are waiting. Megan, you're open, right? Dog business.
Dog grooming is open, and I've been open here and there, but I opened for real on the 26th. So I work like 4 to 5 days a week. And like I said, I mean, on the weekends when I'm there on Saturday, I do not see Depot Square that quiet. I got to be honest. There are people out. So it's exciting, but it's also concerning. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah.
So I don't let people in the store. It's all curbside. So that's how I feel safe, and that's how we're going to proceed for the next 3 weeks. So.
Well, that's my report. That's all I have.
Okay, I've got one other item that's somewhat connected to our whole question about working with the small businesses. Are you able to make the Zoom that takes place this coming Wednesday morning of the Our Town networking group?
I'm on the schedule. Did you not get
I'm
it?
talking to Karen.
I'm on the schedule. Did you not get it?
I just want to make sure you're going to be a speaker on that event, right?
I'm on the schedule.
Okay, you're on the schedule. I wanted to make
If I
sure you
say
knew
yes
you
and
were
I'm on the schedule, I show up. That's me.
And for those of you who don't know it, this networking group is really small enterprises working together to figure out how can we actually help each other with a strong networking support. And again, it's a bunch of small, almost one-person businesses in our community.
Okay.
But I'm glad you're speaking there this Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Right.
You won't hear anything new, James. You just heard it all.
Okay. Any other new business? Any other new business? And next meeting?
We need a date, but do we want to send out a doodle to see if we can get more members to attend?
That's number one. Number two, since we have some ongoing issues that we need to address fairly soon, I would highly suggest that we have another meeting within a week or 2
2 weeks, maybe?
weeks.
Okay, you want to just propose a date for our next quick meeting?
Well, I was going to send out a poll to see if we could get a quorum, James, but
Week after next?
that's what I'm thinking. So maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 26, 27, or 28.
That's
No, that
next
would
week.
Yeah,
Next week?
after. So like the beginning of June, it sounds like.
Well,
Next week?
it's either, so today's the 18th, so we either want to try to meet the first week of June, is that what we're talking about?
Well, you were just using the last week in May, so the first week in June.
Yeah, that's because I forgot this was the 18th.
Okay, well, 2 weeks, we're talking about the, second, third, first, second, third.
Not done.
Yeah,
Sometime
any
in
of
there.
those. Any of those?
Yeah,
They're-
that's, yeah.
They're all fine.
My schedule's open. School is done at the end of this week, so.
All right. So is there anyone who has a problem with either the first, second, or third?
Yeah, not here.
Not
Okay.
me.
So why don't I float those 3 dates with some times to the whole group and then see if we
Good.
can find one where most can make it. Okay,
Good.
I'll do that. Okay,
And then when,
Okay.
when are we meeting again? The
So-
marketing?
yeah, we should probably huddle up end of this week. You think, end of this week? Bill and Megan?
That's fine with me. Megan, are you normally available on Thursdays as usual?
I mean, Wednesday would be better this week, but I can do early Thursday.
Wednesday's
All right,
fine.
why don't you guys just send me what works, because I don't want to take the whole
Okay.
group on this, and
All right.
we'll get on a call.
I'll
All right.
email you.
Okay,
Gonna motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much.
I'll make
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second,
Bill made the motion, who made the second?
Yep,
James.
Andy.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor. Aye, aye.
okay.
Aye and bye.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'll
Thank
send.
you,
out
Karen.
some
Thank you for
emails.
everything you're doing.